What up, y'all? This is your boy Malik Soaring Stanzas, man. I wanted to talk about this message, man. If y'all hear the rain in the back, I'm in the whip. But let's get into this, man. Nehemiah. Wait, give me a sec. Alright, I'm back. Nehemiah. Y'all know who Nehemiah is. Hopefully y'all know. Nehemiah was the one that was building the walls of Jerusalem with the other workers, right? He was the one that was helping build the wall and stuff like that. The walls of Jerusalem, I believe, right? I wanted to bring up this, man, because I feel like people have become so self-righteous and so like holier than thou that they forget that people in the Bible, how they were really rocking, how they was really going about things and doing the work of God that God called them to do, right? And people like pagan Christians, they forget that people in the Bible, they had weapons, and they had weapons to protect themselves when they were doing the will of God and what God called them to do. They had weapons. Now they didn't have weapons that we have today. They had swords, rocks, knives, whatever. I think knives, but y'all know what I mean. They had weapons, bro. They had weapons. And I feel like people like pagan Christians and people who are so holier than thou and so like self-righteous, they forget because they so religious. They got the spirit of religion on them, bro. They got the demonic spirit of religion on them. So they don't really see what needs to be seen, bro. Like, I feel like a lot of pagan Christians have forgot that when Nehemiah and the workers helping him build the Jerusalem wall, right? They forget that he had building material in one hand and a weapon in another. I'm gonna give y'all scriptures. I'm a scripture for that, right? Let me see. It's in Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 17. Let me put y'all on game, right? Hold up. Let me help y'all real quick. Wait. Let me go to the scripture. Give me a sec, y'all. Let me see. My connection's kind of slow. Yep, that's great. All right, Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 17. It says, "They which builded on the wall, and they that bore burdens, with those that ladded, everyone with one of his hands wrought in the work, and with the other held a weapon." Basically, in Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 17, it's saying that they had building material in another hand, building the wall, the Jerusalem wall, right? In another hand, they had a weapon. And I know Christians see that, bro, but they so self-righteous and holier than thou that they shun all weapons. Like, and I'm gonna tell y'all why Nehemiah had a weapon. Because people was trying to harm him from building the wall. I'm gonna give y'all scriptures to that. Hold up. Nehemiah, right? Nehemiah was trying to build a wall, and he had oppression trying to stop him from building a wall from two people. Give me a sec. You feel me? Two people in Nehemiah's time, two evil people was trying to stop Nehemiah from building the wall in Jerusalem, right? And they called Saybatla and Gersh. Yo, these names, I'm butchering the hell. Man, it's Saybat something. It's in Nehemiah chapter 6, verse 2. And it talks about these two people trying to stop Nehemiah from building the wall. Like, they kept sending him threats and all of that. And that's why the workers, the people helping Nehemiah build the wall, right, of Jerusalem, that's why they had building material in one hand, and another hand they had weapons, because they had opposition trying to stop them. And that's in Nehemiah chapter 9, chapter 6, verse 2. And it really talks about it throughout the whole book of Nehemiah when he goes to Jerusalem trying to build the wall, and he's doing the will of God and listening to what God called him to do, right? So it's throughout the book if you read it. But I was showing y'all the two people that was trying to stop him from from doing the work of God, right? And we gotta understand, in our walks with God, right, we're gonna have people trying to stop us from trying to do the will of God that God called us to do. Every time when God raises up a person and they about to start doing the will of God, they about to start doing what God called them to do, right? We're gonna have people trying to have opposition against us. We're gonna have demons and devils trying to stop us from going higher, from doing all of that. Give me a sec. Right? We're gonna have all types of people trying to stop us from achieving what God called us to do. Because that's what happens when you start following God for real, and you start taking his will serious, and you start taking his purpose that he called you to do serious. That's what happens. People try to come against us and try to stop us. Some might call the police on us. Some might even call us crazy. Some might even try to throw certain types of followers of God in mental prisons, the mental asylums and stuff, and all types of stuff. So when it comes to doing the will of God, you really just gotta be smart. But we still gonna have oppression, bro. Whether it's spiritually or physically. Satan might possess somebody to try to stop you, man. And that's what we see in the book of Nehemiah. He had two people trying to stop him from building the wall. And it is crazy, bro. It's crazy, because all he was doing was obeying God and getting the will done and building the wall. Him and the helpers that was trying to help him. You feel me? They had building material in one hand and a weapon in the other. You feel me? Let me go to that scripture again, so y'all think I'm not tripping. You feel me? Nehemiah chapter 4 verse 17. It said, they which builded on the wall, and they that bore burdens, and with those that laid it, everyone with one on his hands wrought in the work, and with the other hand held a weapon. You feel me? It's basically saying, in one hand they had the work, meaning build the building material. They doing their best to build the wall of Jerusalem, right? And in the other hand they had a weapon. So they was basically weapon in one hand, probably building material like this in the other. Not like this, but you know what I mean. So they was ready. They was ready for that. They actually was ready for, how we say it nowadays, they actually was ready for niggas to spin the block. They actually was ready for war, bro. They was ready for it. If somebody tries to come up to them on some F-boy stuff, get their hit, they get unalive real quick. So we know them Nehemiah and them building workers, they was ready for that. They was ready for that. I don't know why. I actually don't know why Christians, pagan Christians, and religious nutheads, right? I don't know why they have something against weapons. I don't know why they have something against weapons, bro. And I already know they don't read the word, because it's right there, bro. I just read it. It's in the word. And it's not just there. You had David with the slingshot and the rock. That's a weapon. You feel me? That's a weapon, bro. With the slingshot and the rock, bro. You feel me? You feel me? Like, the slingshot and the rock back then was considered, come on, let's keep it real. They didn't have no AR-15s. They didn't have none of that, bro. They had rocks, sticks, swords, all of that. So back in David's time, the slingshot and the rock was, come on, man, it was a weapon, bro. Let's be real, bro. It was a weapon. But yeah, man, like, I don't know why Christians have something against weapons that are intended to protect ourselves, bro. We gotta, I'm not saying use weapons in harming. No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying use weapons as a way to protect yourself, even when you're working for God, doing stuff for God, man, because you're gonna have opposition like that trying to stop you. You might have a hater. If you have millions of followers, you might have a hater trying to stop you from doing the will of God if you really are following God and don't have no religion or anything like that. Hold up. And have no religion or anything like that. You feel me? You really are trying to do the will of God. If you're a person that's really trying to do the will of God, you trying to get the God's purpose done for your life, you're going to have opposition like that trying to stop you from getting the work done, man. From getting God's will completed in your life. You're going to have opposition like them two knuckleheads in Nehemiah chapter 6, I believe. You're going to have knuckleheads in Nehemiah chapter 6 verse 2 trying to stop you. You're going to have demonic knuckleheads like that trying to stop you when you're trying to do the will of God. You feel me? This message is only for the people who's trying to do the will, the people just trying to go higher in God and be in God's plan and purpose that God has for you. You're going to have knuckleheads and crazy folk like that trying to stop you, man. You know, all Nehemiah and the workers were trying to do was build a wall in Jerusalem, but look, they had them two idiots trying to stop them. Them two idiots trying to stop them. Them two demonic weirdos trying to stop them. But they couldn't stop the work. They couldn't stop Nehemiah from building the wall in Jerusalem. They couldn't stop that, bro. They couldn't stop the work of God. You feel me? But this message is deep, bro. This message is deep, man, and I pray it reaches. If anybody lost is listening to this, man, give up your life for God, man. Give up your life in God, man. Live for the real black Messiah, man. Start doing His will, getting into His and God's purpose for your life, man. Because maybe you are chosen that you're watching. Whoever's watching this that is lost, maybe you're chosen. You feel me? Maybe God is calling you. You feel me? You never know. So I just pray this reaches the people that are really working for God. I'm not saying religious folks. I'm not talking to religious folks. I'm not talking to pagan Christians, bro. I'm talking to the real people of God that's doing the real work of God, that's doing His will. Can't stress that enough. That's doing His will. That's in the purpose that He called for you. You feel me? Type stuff, man. You know, Nehemiah was only trying to build, man. He was only trying to build, man. He was just trying to build and trying to get stuff done. Trying to build a wall in Jerusalem. And look, them two weirdos trying to stop the work from being done. They had Nehemiah and the workers had building material in one hand, and the other hand they had probably a sword, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you. They was ready for that. Bro. If anybody tried to come at them with some weirdo stuff that tried to stop them from building, you think Nehemiah was weak? You think Nehemiah was weak? You think Nehemiah was soft-hearted and would let them niggas try to stop him from building a wall that God called him to do? Man, hell no. You think if they have building material in one hand and a sword in the next, you think they gonna really sit there and allow Satan's people to try and stop them? You think Nehemiah's gonna be there and be like, oh, I'm gonna pray for you, even though there's nothing wrong with that, but he'll be like, oh, let me pray for you. He's not gonna say that. He had a sword in his hand for a reason. If anybody try to come at him with some F-boy stuff, he's done. They done. Not him, but the enemies. They done, man. Like, them people in the Bible were not weak, bro. Them people in the Bible, bro, was not weak. They was not weak. They was not soft-hearted. And what I mean by soft-hearted is they wasn't soft, man. They was real strong, bro. They was about that business. They was about God's will being done. They was about God's purpose being done in their lives, bro. They was not playing games, bro. Joshua was a warrior, bro. Unaliving evil people for God, man. They was real warriors, bro, in the Old Testament, bro. And people make it seem like these people are weak. Pagan Christians trying to make it seem like these people are weak. These people are not weak, bro, whatsoever, bro. And look, these people still got the will of God done, man. Nehemiah got the will of God done. All these Old Testament and New Testament followers, they got the will of God done. These people are not weak, bro. They was not weak. Pagan Christians nowadays, they're weak. But real followers of God from the word, they was not weak, bro. They was about the will of God being done. I don't know about what pagan Christians got going on today, but real followers of God in the Bible, they was getting the will of God done, bro. That's why I try to be on. I try to be about my Father's business being done, bro. I might not be perfect. I have a lot of flaws, but one thing I know for sure, I try to get the will of God done for my life, man, because that's what I value over a lot of things in my life. The will of God is first priority to be done in my life, bro. Nothing else, bro. Of course, in the purpose that God called me for, but the will of God, what I'm trying to say is the will of God is top priority for me. The will of God goes above my family. The will of God goes above, if I have a child, the will of God goes above that. If I have a woman, the will of God goes above that. I don't care. Like, of course I love my peoples. Of course, if I had a child, I would love my child. But God goes above. God is the first, man. God is the first. I don't know about y'all that be saying, I don't know about y'all. I don't want to stray off topic, but I don't know about y'all that be saying, oh, God first. Nah, I really be keeping God first. Try my best. I'm not going to even put it on my description, on my YouTube, Instagram, or any. Nah, bro, I'm going to put that in action, bro. You feel me? But I'm not going to go off topic, man. Nehemiah had, weapons of protection to do the will of God, man. I don't know what Christians got going on today, man. You could use weapons to protect yourself from evil folks. You could use weapons to protect yourself. It's not a crime to protect yourself, man. It's not a crime, man. It's not a crime to have a weapon to protect yourself. That is not a crime, bro. It's not a crime to have a weapon to protect yourself and your peoples and your family that you have. It's not a crime, man. When you're doing the will of God, it's not a crime, man. You need stuff like that to protect you, man, because you're going to have you're going to have oppressive people that's trying to stop you, just like I said in Nehemiah, man. Them folks was trying to stop Nehemiah and the workers from building a wall in Jerusalem. Nah, bro, they couldn't because they had building material in one hand, and the other hand, they had a weapon, bro. They was ready for that war, bro. They was ready, bro. Like, it's not wrong to have weapons of protection to protect yourself, man. You need it. We need it, man. Yeah, I know when I get the bread to protect myself and have, a weapon to protect myself, I'll get it to protect myself. Hell yeah. I'll get my license and everything like that to protect myself, man. Facts. Man. Shout out to the people that have, they gun license to protect themselves, man. That's fire, man. I want one of myself one day, man, cause you feel me? When we building, like I said, this is probably gonna be my last one, but when you're building something for God, folks, man, if you're a real follower of God and a real follower of Jesus, if you're building something, doing the work of God, doing His will for your life, and you're not religious and you're not pagan Christian, and you getting the real will of God done, you're gonna need weapons of protection to protect yourself, because you're gonna have haters from every direction, bro. I'm telling you, man, you're gonna have haters. Just like Nehemiah had them 2 haters. You're gonna have haters trying to stop you from doing the work, man. You need weapons. You need weapons of protection to protect yourself while doing the work of God, man. You need it. Nehemiah had it, and the rest of them Old Testament people had it too, not just Nehemiah. Everyone that was doing the will of God in that Old Testament, they most likely had a weapon of protection to protect themselves, man. And that's fire, man. They were just trying to get the will of God done. And here, Satan's people trying to go and trying to stop them. Nah, you ain't gonna stop a real follower of God from doing the will of God, from doing what God called them to do. You ain't gonna stop them. But this is your boy Malik, Soul Rain Stanza, man. Y'all be cool, man. Awesome little message, man. But yeah.